Today we're going to talk about 10 times people exploited loopholes in rules, policies, and systems so hard that companies or governments were forced to change the rules of the game. Some of these stories sound like jokes, but they all really happened in real life. And the further we go, the more unbelievable the cases become. Number 10, lifetime first-class tickets were exploited so hard that the airline had to shut them down. In the early 1980s, American Airlines came up with what seemed like a very smart idea: selling lifetime unlimited first-class tickets. It sounded appealing, but for the airline, this was also a way to raise cash very quickly. They believed no one could possibly fly enough to turn the program into a financial disaster. But then some passengers took the word unlimited literally. Some people turned flying into part of their everyday lives. They flew constantly between major cities, and sometimes even took trips simply because it was convenient or because they wanted to. Some accumulated enormous amounts of frequent flyer miles, pushing the airline's annual costs to a level that became hard to accept. The ironic part is that they were not misusing the product at all. They were simply taking full advantage of exactly what they had paid for. In the end, the airline had to find a way to shut the program down. This is a classic example of why you should never promise something is unlimited unless you've already accounted for extreme users. Number 9, ticket buying bots made it impossible for real people to compete. Have you ever waited for concert tickets to go on sale, clicked right at the moment sales opened, and then found them sold out just seconds later? A big part of the reason is bots. While ordinary people were still waiting for the page to load, bots could already grab huge numbers of seats in an extremely short amount of time. As a result, tickets disappeared almost instantly, only to reappear on resale markets at prices many times higher. Real fans were the ones who lost. Either they had to buy the tickets back at outrageously high prices, or they had to give up. As this became more and more common, public outrage grew as well. Eventually, using bots to buy tickets was restricted more tightly by law. This is a very clear example of how technology can exploit weaknesses in a system much faster than humans can. Number 8, coupons were once turned into a money printing machine. There was a time when many people realized that if they knew how to combine coupons properly, they could buy products for extremely low prices, sometimes almost for free. The trick was stacking multiple layers of discounts together. A product already on sale, plus a manufacturer coupon, plus a store coupon, plus cashback, plus a rebate. A normal transaction suddenly turned into an incredibly profitable deal. Some people could leave with entire carts full of consumer goods for almost no cost at all. That made retail chains start to realize that their promotion policies were being exploited too aggressively. So a wave of new rules appeared. Limits on the number of coupons, bans on stacking certain types of discounts, limits on how many times they could be used in a day. From then on, the era of extreme couponing was basically over. Number 7, overly generous return policies were thoroughly abused. Many major brands used to be famous for making returns extremely easy. The original idea was simple: make customers feel more secure when shopping. But then some people started pushing that comfort way too far. Some returned items they had used for years. Some bought used goods somewhere else and then brought them into the store demanding a refund. Some even used seasonal products and then returned them after they were done using them. For businesses, this turned a customer service policy into a major financial loss. As a result, many retail chains had to completely redesign their return systems. They went from almost unlimited flexibility to clear time limits, checks on return history, and monitoring customers who showed signs of abuse. This was the moment companies realized that even a good policy can become a loophole if it has no limits. Number 6, transporting cans across state lines to make money. For a period in the United States, refund values for cans and bottles were not the same from state to state. Some places paid well, while others paid very little or nothing at all. And so some people came up with a way to profit from that gap. They collected cans in one state, then transported them into another state to claim the better refund. It sounds simple, but at large scale, it became a genuinely profitable operation. The problem was that the state paying the refunds had to cover containers that were never even sold within its own system. In other words, an environmental policy was being turned into a mechanism for profit-taking. Eventually, authorities had to tighten the law to stop this kind of interstate, trash business. Number 5. Raising your credit score by piggybacking on someone else. There was a time when many people discovered that their credit profiles could improve very quickly simply by being added to the credit card account of someone with a strong credit history. You did not need to spend money. You did not need to hold the card. You just needed to appear as an authorized user, and your credit profile could benefit from the other person's good payment history. This helped quite a lot of people raise their credit scores quickly. Later, the model was even commercialized. People with good credit were paid to add strangers to their accounts. As this practice spread, banks and credit scoring organizations started changing the rules they used for evaluation. Once again, we see how a rule that seems harmless can be exploited in a way no one expected. Number 4. The dumpster behind stores used to be a gold mine. There was a time when many large stores threw away merchandise that was still perfectly usable. Returned items. Out-of-season goods. Boxes with minor dents. Products that were still intact but no longer suitable for display and sale. Some people discovered that and started searching through the trash areas behind stores. And what they found could sometimes be extremely valuable: electronics, games, household goods, clothing, all kinds of things. When this information spread, retailers reacted very strongly. They started destroying goods before throwing them away, locking up trash areas, or using other preventive measures. It sounds very strange, but in many places, taking an item that has already been thrown away can still get you into legal trouble. Number 3. Farming virtual items and selling them for real money. During the boom of online gaming, a group of people turned playing games into real-world income. They spent hours farming gold, rare items, or in-game resources, then sold them to people who did not want to grind for them themselves. For many people, this was not just a side hustle. It was real work. But game companies did not want that market to grow beyond their control. They banned real money transactions between players, suspended accounts, and treated it as a violation of the terms of service. What is interesting is that later on, many of those same companies started selling in-game items directly to players themselves. So the model still existed, only the beneficiary had changed to the platform. Number 2. Braiding hair but being treated as if you were practicing without a license. In some places, even traditional hair braiding once required a cosmetology license. The issue was that to get that license, people had to study for thousands of hours and spend a great deal of money, even though the training content did not actually serve the skill of traditional braiding. This created a major barrier for people working from home or using skills passed down through family and community. After a lot of controversy and legal challenges, some places loosened the rules. But this story remains a classic example of how occupational licensing sometimes does not protect quality at all, and instead simply raises barriers to entry. Number 1. Putting money into a parking meter could get even a stranger fined. This sounds like a joke, but there were once places where adding more money to someone else's parking meter was considered a violation. In the past, some people would see that someone's meter was about to expire and casually drop in a few extra coins to help them avoid a ticket. A very ordinary act. A very kind one. But in some cities, that was treated as unauthorized interference with the parking system. As a result, the person helping someone else could actually be fined. This is probably the strangest example on today's list. Even a good deed can be treated as wrong if it interferes with the way a system makes money. Those are 10 cases showing that all it takes is one small loophole in a law, policy, or business model, and there will always be someone creative enough to push it to the limit. And the most interesting part is this. Many of these things were completely legal at first, and only once too many people started doing them did the rules begin to change. If you enjoy content about system loopholes, strange legal stories, and real-life exploits of loopholes, follow the channel to see the next parts.